Welcome back to the channel, everybody. I am Mick Alfany. Please subscribe to the channel if you haven't already. And if you could, please click that like button, turn it into a rocket, and send it straight into the stratosphere. All right, so in the previous video and quite a few others, I briefly mentioned that Stellar and other banking coins, right? Other monetary coins like XRP, Stellar, and Cello, these entities haven't exploded in price. Algorand also, because Algorand is also working with central bank digital currencies, but they haven't exploded to their true potentiality in price like they should have, because large institutions and banks are waiting for regulatory clarity. Most people know about the SEC case because it's the most publicized case that is going on right now. But there are actually three different regulatory bodies that are stifling the progress of these monetary coins like XLM, XRP, Cello, Algorand. Okay, and here you can see on Stellar's Twitter, they have made multiple posts about their letters to these regulatory bodies about how their archaic and antiquated policies could possibly harm or damage the cryptosphere. All right, so XLM has been in this battle for quite some time. And this is another reason why a lot of us AHAB investors, a lot of us long holders of XLM, XRP are being very, very patient, because we have the understanding that those banks are not going to flood quadrillions of dollars into the system until there is regulatory clarity. We understand that, but a lot of other lay investors, and it's not a problem. You don't have time to do all this research. I get it. That's why I'm here. Make sure you subscribe. But a lot of lay investors, like regular retail investors, are not going to know about this or understand these things. Here is a letter. And this is actually the third letter I've read that I believe Stellar has sent to FinCen, okay? They're like the financial crimes department, and they have been trying to issue certain regulations against cryptocurrencies such as XLM and XRP as well, okay? And if they enact certain damaging regulations, it will affect the entire cryptosphere. So let's read this letter. Let's just go through this letter a little bit, okay? So this is by Candace Kelly. It's from stellar.org/blog. And here's what it says. Back in January, SDF submitted a letter to the Financial Crimes Enforcement Network in response to their notice of proposed rulemaking on requirements for certain transactions involving convertible virtual currency or digital assets, or NPRM. That first letter was born out of a pressing need throughout the industry, at a minimum, delay implementation of a last-minute rule process that largely left innovators out of the conversation. So they were trying to pass regulation without even having a discussion with crypto companies like XLM, Stellar, Ripple, Cello, Algo. They weren't even involving them, and they were just going to pass certain regulations with these antiquated, archaic policies from the past, and they don't apply to the new technology. They just don't. So Stellar is writing on their behalf, and to a greater extent on our behalf, so we can make this generational wealth that's just waiting for us and being held back by the lack of regulatory clarity. Okay, so let's continue on. It says delay implementation of a last-minute rule process that largely left innovators out of the conversation, even though it would have significant consequences for blockchain and cryptocurrency ecosystems. You go ahead, Stellar. You fight for us. You throw those haymakers, Stellar. We need you to. I'm behind you. I want that. I want that money, 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 money. Thankfully, FinCen extended their initial comment period to give industry voices like ours, Stellar, more time to share our thoughts on this rule and its potentially detrimental effects on our industry. As a result, over the last few months, we've been working with key stakeholders like Blockchain Association, the Chamber of Digital Commerce, and FinClusive to articulate the most troubling aspects of this proposed rule. Yesterday, in accordance with the FinCen's revised comment deadline, we submitted our supplemental comment letter sharing those concerns, which you can read in full here. We can read that. If you guys want that, let me know in the comment section. I have a few days off, as I do every week. I usually release my videos Thursday, Fridays, and Saturdays, as you probably know. So I will be in the comment section on those days, as I usually am. If you want me to read that entire letter so you can get a greater understanding, just let me know there, and we will do that. In our supplemental letter, which builds on much of what we laid out in early January, we come back to a few main points that we believe should shape the next steps of the NPRM. Let's pay very close attention to this. Here we go. We're gonna dive deep. Put on your swimsuit. FinCen should suspend further action pursuant to the NPRM until all relevant studies, in particular those related to the efficacy of existing current currency transaction and suspicious activity reports mandated by the Anti-Money Laundering Act of 2020, have been completed. They haven't even been completed. They wanted to enact these rules without even completing the research. This is mind-blowing to me, absolutely mind-blowing. But I'm glad that there are good minds at Stellar and other organizations putting their minds and eyes on this before someone makes a rash decision without even considering all of the data. How do you make a decision without the data or the test being completed? That is very scary, but Stellar put up their guard and they blocked those jabs. Very, very good job, Stellar. So we continue on. FinCen should not proceed with rulemaking in this area until it has fully evaluated the impact of de-risking on the global poor and other marginalized communities driven by past AML regulations. This is exactly why companies like XLM, Ripple, and Algorand, who want to bring banking to the unbanked, they're not the only ones who are going to get banking, because we're also working with the actual banks. But what these systems are doing is bringing everybody together and giving everybody a fair chance, a level playing field. You like that term, don't you? They all use that term. I'm going to use it too. They're giving everybody a level playing field, which was not possible under the old rules. What FinCen was trying to do is bring the old rules to a new platform that's not made for the old rules, but this new platform transcends the old rules because it gives everyone a level playing field. The old rules keep the playing field unleveled. As you can see right now, these types of rulings and having to go through these proceedings is what's holding you and I back from generational wealth that we can make through XLM and XRP and Cello and Algorand, all of these ones working with central bank digital currencies. And I do not turn a blind eye to all of the unbanked people that will flood the systems with all of that money as well. And then also they will benefit also because now they're able to make transactions cross-border with little to almost no fees whatsoever. It's absolutely brilliant. But first we have to get past things like this type of archaic thinking. So if you can make your voice heard in some type of way, definitely do, so we can make that generational wealth and let FinCen know that this is not acceptable. But they're not the only regulatory body that's doing things like this. FinCen is not alone. SEC is not alone. There is a third. I don't know their name off the top of my head, but we may cover that article, which Stellar also is battling them. We may cover that information in another video if you are interested in that. Let's continue on here. FinCen should abandon the NPR's reporting requirements in lieu of an appropriately calibrated record-keeping requirement that would comport with the intent of the AMLA and more efficiently achieve FinCen's objectives. This is why I actually, besides just possibly becoming a millionaire from holding Stellar Lumens and such, I also like a lot of these companies like Stellar, Algorand, Cardano. They have very intelligent people who are not lazy and who are putting their minds to this. They're even suggesting better methods to a regulatory body when, theoretically speaking, I would think that the regulatory body should already know to update their antiquated systems and techniques. However, they're not. I would assume that they're not because that old system works for them. However, it does not work for us and everyone else who is on the rise. You and I. Okay, let's continue on here. In the end, we strongly hope that if the NPRM moves to a final rule, FinCen takes these considerations into account. But our ultimate goal is to see proposals that are more tailored to blockchain because, as we've said many times before, new technology deserves new approaches to regulation. I absolutely agree. 100% agree. And not only that, you're going to need new policies, new regulations, and also new minds looking at this new technology because it's going to just consume everything. Everything will be encompassed, in my humble opinion. I'm not a financial advisor or expert, but everything will be encompassed within the blockchain. Store of value is now in blockchain. Smart contracts are in blockchain. NFTs of all types. You have people selling games on NFTs. You have art NFTs, music NFTs. Everything is now being placed on the blockchain. So since it's going to be one of the major facets of the world moving forward, you definitely should do something new that is based, at least, if not around blockchain, but at least taking a large consideration into how blockchain should be governed as something that is new and approached with a new method. That's what I would think. If I said that clear enough, my 5-hour energy is starting to wear off a little bit. Let's continue forward. No matter how you slice it, the FinCen NPRM seeks to apply a regulatory framework designed for a centralized intermediary-based financial system. Of course, that's not going to fit when most of the systems are decentralized now on blockchain, decentralized, and there's no intermediaries. That's another beautiful part of decentralized finance. There's no intermediaries. There's no middlemen. And theirs is based on middlemen, made to serve middlemen, which is also why the banks see the people are trying to escape that, right? But the banks are also trying to escape that because those middlemen have been overcharging the banks and just consuming so much in fees that the banks are they're just done with it all. They don't want it either. So they're trying to escape it by utilizing the blockchain and cutting out middlemen as well. I hope that banks are also making their voices heard in this. That would be major, but there's no way to know since they keep everything so private. Let's continue on. It says, that's not suited for blockchain. That's just what I just said, didn't I? We look forward to the role we can play to help future regulation represent new thinking that accounts for what makes this technology unique and how it can help regulators and innovators achieve their shared goals. Okay, so that's where the article ends. Actually, with the developments of this, I couldn't find the other article, but I believe that FinCen actually gave an ear to Stellar and was beginning to change things for the better. So that started to go very well, but that's one of the regulatory bodies that is holding back, like the SEC, FinCen, holding back that generational wealth that you and I want to make, that's going to make us millionaires, billionaires, and trillionaires, okay? That's why the prices haven't skyrocketed yet. And that's one of the reasons why, if you are a holder, I can't tell you what to do. I'm not a financial advisor. This is not financial advice at all. But if a person is a holder of XLM, then it would be wise for them to be patient. I mean, have to be if you want to see millions. We're not talking about these little spikes in price, these little corrections upward. We're not talking about that. We're talking about generational wealth. Okay. Now, FinCen, I believe, from what I had gathered from the other articles that I had read, started to move in a positive direction for Stellar XLM and the entirety of the crypto sphere. However, there is another regulatory body that is now breathing down the crypto sphere's neck, and XLM is also on the forefront of battling them as well. So while you have XRP in the public battling the SEC, you have Stellar, who's much less public. It hasn't been publicized almost at all, unless you're following their Twitter. They're battling two regulatory bodies. And I mean, these regulatory bodies are ferocious, vicious. So that, my friends, is all that stands between us and that money. That's it. And as long as we keep doing well, Stellar continues to articulate itself in these battles, in these regulatory battles, we will win. We will gain regulatory clarity for the entirety of the cryptosphere. And that money from those banks and large institutions that we've been hunting as Ahab investors hunting the whales, that money, those quadrillions will begin to flow through stellar XLM, and we will be millionaires, billionaires of some of us. I bought the dip. I bought the dip. So anyway, everybody, thank you for listening to this. If you haven't already, subscribe to the channel. I would greatly appreciate that. And if you could, please click that like button, turn it into a rocket, and send it straight to the moon. And until next time, let's get to the money.